You know, I love a good cookout, and I have been to Fourth of July cookouts, and understanding the contradictions, but the reality for a lot of our people is that these federal holidays are the only day off a lot of us get, and most of us don't actually get the day off because unless a restaurant or a store that has employees is closed on that holiday, who's working behind the counter in a lot of these places, at least in major cities? But the interesting thing is that we also know that this is true for a lot of working class and poor white people in this country. Because, I mean, you go to places in this country where there is a very small non white population, you see poor white people being treated like crap the way we are treated like crap. You see poor white people working at Dollar General and Family Dollar and working at 2, 3 places. In my hometown, there are poor white people, my hometown, Jarrett, Virginia, there are poor white people who work at the Dollar General, they work at the Roses, they work at the Walmart, and then they work at the casino. Yeah, my little hometown of Jarrett, Virginia. I think I have to look up the population of that town, but there are not enough people in that town for them to have a casino. But them Bamas do. They have built a casino in my hometown, but you see, my hometown is right on 95. So you get all the trucker traffic, you get all the traffic, and they have all of the, fast food restaurants and the rest stops and whatnot there. So yeah. So there are multiple levels of economic exploitation that is absolutely eviscerating, practically liquidating the working class and the poor in this country. And it's not just black people, it's poor white people too. So when poor white people or white people in general come onto these channels where you and I are talking about these issues of the economic exploitation of people who look like us and all of this beauty that the Lord gave us, they think we don't know that they're suffering too. So they come onto these platforms where we are talking about these issues and they make their little racist comments, and they don't even understand that we are fighting for their asses too. We're fighting for working class and poor white folks who are being jacked up, bent over, and with no lube by the same system that's doing this to us and the same system that is doing this to immigrants. Smithfield, the meat processing plant, is not far from my hometown. And let me tell you how connected this thing really is. There was a huge struggle at the Smithfield meatpacking plant for years, and I mean like over a decade, because Smithfield would hire Mexican immigrant workers, and they would hire, poor white folks and poor black folks, and they would separate the workers by race. And the Smithfield plant actually had an internal court system. There was a jail inside the Smithfield plant. At first, you have to know that the Smithfield headquarters, the processing plant, is enormous. It's enormous, and they had their own police force. So when the employees would piss the bosses off, they would lock them up. They would literally lock them up. The police would come and arrest them and put them in jail. So then the workers started to talk to each other. These poor white, these poor black, and these poor Mexican immigrant workers. And everybody was paid different. The Mexican immigrant workers were paid the absolute least. They were paid far below the federal minimum wage. And this was like 20 years ago, I think, around. I'll have to get the story for you, and tell you this history, because it is really fascinating what corporations have been allowed to get away with and what working class and poor white people in this country believe about what people are taking from them. But the actual history and the facts show that it's not us taking nothing from you. It's the people you all are protecting who are telling you that we are your problem. So let me explain. So they paid the Mexican workers the least and they had the most dangerous jobs, right? They paid the black workers a little bit more and they had the same dangerous jobs, and they paid the white workers more, and they had, the less dangerous jobs. But of course, the poor white workers were never paid anywhere what they were their labor was worth, and being promoted was even difficult for them, especially if they had any kind of good relationship with the black and Mexican workers. So when it got out that the workers began to organize, particularly the black and the Mexican workers together, it got out. And then the repression inside Smithfield against the workers was brutal. People were being beaten, people were being locked up, all kinds of stuff was happening. My pastor, or my late pastor, because Graylin Hagler just passed away earlier this year, my pastor and late friend Graylin Hagler went down to Smithfield to help those workers organize, to get better pay, better treatment, and to get rid of the Smithfield police force, court, and jail. Right? That is how deep and but also how close this issue really is. And right now in my hometown, you can see there are communities of immigrants from Latin America who are, or the global South, who are working in the plants that are still there. There's Smithfield is farther down in North Carolina. It's still there. And they don't have the jail anymore, and they don't have the police force anymore. But there's also Boar's Head meat processing that is around my hometown. There is the Georgia Pacific plant that is around my hometown. There is a foundry and a metal works, I believe, that is still there, and some other industries. And of course, there is the Virginia State Maximum Security Prison in Greensville County, which is the death house, which is literally up the road from my grandmama's house. Right? The first execution they had at that prison after they built it and put the people in there, the first execution that Virginia carried out happened on a weekend, on a Friday night that my mom, this was before 1996 when my mom passed. She died in 1996. We were at my grandmother's house, and I believe it was before my mom passed. We were at my grandmother's house. We were sitting around the kitchen table, chit-chatting like we always did, and the lights flickered. The lights went out, and they came back on, and it happened a couple of times. And, all conversation stopped around there. We're like, what the heck is going on? And my grandmother, who is the holiest, most saintliest woman I've ever known in my life, said, "Oh, my Lord, those people killed that man." And we were like, what? What are you talking about? Who killed who? What you mean, Grandma? And she explained, well, they built the prison up here. And the prison is where and my grandmother always called it the death house, so that's why I call it the death house. But my grandmother said, but it's the execution chamber. So my grandmother said, yeah, that this is the death house. This is where they're going to kill people in this prison. And he was the first one. They had it in the paper that his execution would happen today. So she shows me the paper, and sure enough, they reported on, and I can't remember the man's name, but the first execution at the Greensville County Maximum Security Prison happened that night that we sat at my grandmother's table, and the lights flickered on and off because the electric chair drained that much power from the electrical grid. And that's a rural area. So this idea that some of our people have, that they can get better treatment, and I actually understand what it is. I hate that they think this. And I really hate that there is no reasoning with a lot of these people, and they are so convinced that if they adopt Americanism, they will be accepted by America, seen as American, and then eventually they will be treated like Americans. That's really all it is. These folks do not really, in their heart of hearts, believe that they are not African. Yes, they act like it, but what it is, and I know that there is also a huge amount of indoctrination, a lack of critical thinking skills, lack of real education on our history in this country, and lack of real education about this country and the way this country operates around the rest of the world. That all goes into it. It absolutely does. But I do think that for a lot of people, maybe the older ones more than the younger ones who believe this foolishness, I do think a lot of it is really desperation. We've tried everything else to get reparations. We've tried everything else to be treated with respect in this country. Okay, let's try this. I think that there's some of that. And when you think it is your last and only hope, yeah, I think you do cling to it like it's the gospel. And I'm probably giving a lot of these folks more credit than they deserve right now. But I also do feel like a part of me feels like we have to do all we can to reach as many of our people as we can. But at the same time, I'm like, y'all ain't gonna keep disrespecting me, us, our history, our forefathers, There's only so many times you gonna tell me Malcolm X ain't shit because his mama was not born here. There's only so many times I'm gonna let you say Marcus Garvey ain't shit because he ain't. There's only so many times I'm gonna put up with that. But I do think it is important to kind of understand where this thinking comes from and why people cling to it like they do. And I think this is, at least the way I see it, one of the reasons that I think this ideology, this ADOS FBA thing has gotten so big, and it is so it's such a big deal now. But I need people to understand that there is no negotiating with terrorists. And we need to realize that that's what these politicians propping up this government is. All of them, every single one of them, with the exception of a handful or two, one or two here and there, who have proven, who have shown that they are absolutely on the people's side. There's not a lot of them. So most of the politicians in Congress and every single president, including y'all's favorite Sunday school Baptist teacher, Jimmy Carter, including y'all's favorite first Black president, as Toni Morrison unfortunately said, Bill Clinton, and especially the actual Black president, Barack Obama, were all equally as evil. That all of these people hate poor people. All of them hate poor people in other countries. Every single one of them are imperialists, and every single one of them are capitalists who will exploit the people at the bottom of the social ladder in order to keep them on the bottom of the economic ladder so that they can all make more money. All of them. Every single one of them. And it is, and I have to tell you all, as an organizer, I'm in the process of learning how to be more patient with people as I'm having these conversations, because you know me, it's hard. Because I'm gonna cuss at you. I'm gonna cuss at you. You know. And I'm not gonna be sorry about it. But in this battle of ideas, we can't leave any ideas like on the floor for somebody else to just sweep away. We have to engage in these conversations. It's difficult. It is personally uncomfortable because I don't want to have a conversation with a white person who comes in and says, "Oh, this is the low IQ channel." Oh, I saw that motherfucker. Don't think I didn't. And I understand that there are bots and all that kind of stuff, but you can't dismiss all of these racist comments as computer generated. A lot of these are actual human beings who are sitting there looking at Black people talk about politics, and the first thing they think about is, oh, the niggas are whining again. And they make these kind of comments, not understanding that we are talking about capitalist exploitation that probably definitely impacts your ass too. Sitting there in your, let me not say that, that's not nice. I'm trying to be. So I have as much aggravation for the racist white people who dismiss everything Africans say about the exploitation in this system. I have as much antagonism and lack of patience for them as I have for the FBA, ADOS folks. Honestly, sometimes as I have for the folks who are the liberals, the Democrats, the Black Democrats, who, well, you had better vote for Kamala Harris. You didn't vote for Kamala. This is why this is happening. No, this isn't why this is, not voting for Kamala is not why this is happening. This is happening because you keep voting for one of the two parties whose policies are exactly the same in regard to our exploitation. So for myself, I am still learning, and it is a daily, in my faith tradition, mine, only mine, not yours. Don't give a damn what your faith tradition is. Not trying to proselytize. I don't care what you believe, but in my faith tradition, I am told that insofar as it is possible with me, as much as I have it in my control, I should try to get along with people as much as I can. And I take that and I add it to the absolutely Marxist Leninist ideology of a battle of ideas. See, we can't have this conversation. We can't have this battle of ideas if when you come to me and you say some slick shit out your mouth to me, I'm just going to immediately punch you in the throat. We can't have a battle of ideas then. I'm talking about me. I'm not talking about anybody else and how they respond. I'm keeping it here. Right? So, in order for me to engage in this battle of ideas in a principled way, so that a clear idea can be achieved at, not necessarily, if people don't agree, fine, they don't agree. If they come away from the battle of ideas that we have in person, because let me try to be clear. This idea of having a battle of ideas can't be done on social media. I've tried it since 2016 and it don't work. It does not work. That there is no having a real conversation, a real exchange, sitting with the tension in front of each other and being forced to respect each other's humanity because it's sitting right there in front of you. It's kind of hard to dehumanize people when they're sitting in front of you if you have any kind of morals. Now, if you're an amoral monster like, a Zionist, you have no problem doing that. But you and I are human beings. You and I are different people. We are people. We have morals. We have souls. I do think there are some people who probably don't have one. But I don't think we can have this real battle of ideas with this forum. I think this forum is good for exactly this, introducing different ideas to people. Having people look at sitting on YouTube and going, oh, I didn't know that was true. Oh, I didn't understand that that's what, okay, yeah, that this platform, this medium, social media, is good for sharing information. It's good for reaching out to new audiences that you would have never had any contact with before. It's perfect for that. And it's great for that. But we're not going to be able to engage people to understand this system and the ways it is exploiting and killing us all in the same for the same purposes, but in different ways. We're not going to be able to get people to understand how that it's really done, and to get them to see that we really are connected to each other because our collective enemy is exactly the same. That's hard to get for people to get to through this medium. So this is why organizing outside of social media is so important. It's one thing to have people who are on this platform who are social media commentators, and I am one, but I'm an organizer outside of this. But a lot of other social media commentators, that is all they do. That's all they talk about, the issues, but they're not doing anything to think about and work around how to address the issues, how to help people understand the issues, and how to bring people into learning how to fight to change any of this. This is why I say that social media is not like the best place to have uh, conversations that will result in organizing and change. Social media, I think, is how you introduce the idea to new people. And then hopefully those new people can find the organization that you're involved in, and maybe they go to the website. You know what I mean? And then they see what's on the website and they're like, oh, well, that's interesting. I think I might want to get involved. And then they might reach out in that way. But there's no quick fix to this. We're not going to organize for a general strike to destroy capitalism on social media, on live streams, through live streams. We're not. That's not how it's done. We are going to have to get down in the trenches and talk to people. And not everyone can talk to every group of people. White leftists are going to have to do this organizing among a whole lot of their brethren communities, because we are not going to be welcomed or listened to in a lot of these communities. And we just need to realize that's the reality. So our white allies need to, and our comrades and accomplices, and let me change that, because we don't need allies right now. We need comrades and accomplices, right? So white folks, do your job. Go to your communities and organize your communities. Talk to them about these things. You have to be the go-between, because we've seen, history shows us how us organizing for better for all working class and poor people is met by too many white working class and poor people, right? So this is a great platform for introducing ideas, but as I see in the chat, it's also a great platform for confusing things, because I love Toni Morrison, but she did say what she said. She said she's not canceled. I'm just annoyed that that came from her, and really, I'm really annoyed that the idea that Bill Clinton playing saxophone badly on the Arsenio Hall show kind of qualified him as black. That's the thing that pisses me off so much. Like, why is the bar so low for us to be identified with us? That's what I mean. So I don't know. I think that for all of us who are organizers, this particular holiday is bullshit. It always has been. If you know the history of this country to any degree, if you know the real history of this country, you know this holiday is bullshit. You know there's no freedom and no liberty. If you don't have the ability to acquire safe dwelling, if you don't have a job that pays you enough money to be able to afford such a dwelling, but you can't find a job that pays you enough money, and then when you do have a job, you have to work 2 or 3 of them in order to afford a piece of shit apartment to keep over your head, that's not safe, that's mold and rodent ridden, but that's the best you can do. because that's all you can make. And then the government comes and tells you that the SNAP benefits that you need to feed your children, because the 2 or 3 jobs you have don't give you enough money to keep a roof over your head and feed and clothe you and your children throughout the month for the whole 30 days. But your government comes and tells you that SNAP benefits are for lazy people, and people who don't work don't deserve SNAP benefits, and you can't appeal to anyone in your government to change their mind about the way they see a necessary lifeline that keeps you alive. Nobody in this government will listen to you when you tell them, no, we need these benefits. And you know what? The rent is too high. I work 3 jobs and I don't make $30,000 a year. I can't afford a better place to live. My kids are always sick because of the mold. The rats are biting my children. And I can't take them to the hospital because what sick leave? I don't have health insurance. And yeah, they're absent from school a lot because they're sick, because of all these other things. And there is nobody in this government that's supposed to be of the people, for the people, and by the people. There's nobody in this government that will listen to you and say, you know what? You're right. This is the richest country this world may have ever seen. And we can do better for you than this. You're right. This is terrible. Nobody in this country should be living like this. So let's make sure you can afford a decent place to live that's safe, that's free of environmental contaminants, so that you and your children can have a safe and healthy place to live. Let's raise your wages so that you don't have to work 3 jobs and be away from your family, so that you can make the little bit of money that you make to keep you from being homeless. Let's raise your wages so you don't have to work yourself to death into an early grave, and be able to spend time with your children. And let's make sure all employers offer full benefits, health care, enough sick and vacation and paid time off, so that you can take care of these health issues, so that you can go to the doctor and not have to worry about a $500 copay that you don't have. Let's make sure the insurance industry doesn't exist anymore, and that the government pays for health care so that you don't have to go broke trying to get a tooth pulled, right? You're absolutely right. Let's make sure that your children go to a school that is fully funded, so that they can have the best equipment, learning the most accurate information, real history, information that will help them do better and build a better society, and learn about the rest of the world, and be good global citizens, and be proud of their country and what they are building. Let's make sure we provide everybody in this country an equal footing, not because they come from a certain place, not because they come from a certain lineage, but because they are human beings. And all human beings need certain things to live. All human beings need dwelling to live in. All human beings need clean water and decent nutritious food to eat. All human beings need health care to live. Everybody's going to get sick at some point. Everybody. All human beings need a decent education, and children need a safe and flourishing environment where they are encouraged to explore and to learn to think for themselves, to grow their creativity. Yeah, let's as the government of the most powerful nation on the planet, let's make sure that everybody in our country has the basic things that every human being needs in order to survive, so that whatever anybody wants to do beyond that, they don't have to worry about those things, those things are not going to be the reason, or them not having those things will not be the reason that those people fail, end up on the streets, and die an early death. If everybody has housing, everybody has health care, everybody has education, then everybody starts from the same place. Everybody starts from the same place. And then we have a society in which people can pursue whatever interests they want and do whatever they want beyond that. Yes, let's do that. Do we live in a country in which this government has that type of situation for you? No, you do not. But the very same government that refuses to provide these things for working class and poor Black people, for immigrants, for working class and poor white people, the very same government are bombing and destroying countries in which the governments do provide those things for their people. And then they turn around and tell you that the people from those countries who were forced to come here because the government is bombing the shit out of them and destroying their countries, overturning their democratically elected governments, taking away their social safety nets, and all of those policies that we just talked about that you wish you had. The same government is destroying those countries and taking those things away from those people. And now those people are forced to come here because they can't live in their countries anymore. And the very same government then tells you that it's the Negroes that are your problem, working class and poor white people. And then it tells us Black folks, it's the immigrants that are your problem. And meanwhile, the people doing all of this to all of us are sitting there laughing all the way to the bank at us stabbing each other in the back. When what we should be doing is organizing, talking to each other, comparing our struggles, getting together, uniting, turning on them, the ruling class, and kicking their asses. That's what we should be doing. But that is not what we are doing, because too many of us have spent far too much time listening to people on social media who are not organizing at all, but they're just telling you the latest thing that the latest milk toast, reformist, liberal, Democrat light politician tells you is going to be the thing that makes everything better for everybody else. And that's what people focus on instead of actual revolution and the destruction of the capitalist system that is the enemy to all of us. So